Hello there, Dragonfire here, and I'm coming at you with another movie review, or a film series review. Two movies in this franchise so far. I've heard a rumor that they might be making a third one. Personally, I don't want to see a third movie in this franchise, and I will kind of get into my reasons why, probably as the review goes on. But I do think that the first two movies in this franchise are good. It is basically the reason why I don't want to see this, because I don't know that they can pull it off again. And so a third movie, I feel like, will probably taint this franchise and not make it as good. So the franchise I'm talking about, you already know, you saw the thumbnail, but it is Top Gun, the Top Gun franchise. Of course, the original just called Top Gun, and its sequel, Top Gun Maverick. I don't have a video copy of Top Gun Maverick. I did watch it on streaming. Um, so with this movie here, you can see it's a slipcase um, version here, and this was a special edition for 100 years of movies. So I think it's 100 years since the founding of Paramount, or maybe Paramount's parent company, which I think is Viacom. I'm not sure, but anyway, yeah, this was a special edition DVD. Came with some special features and whatnot, but yes, it is only the first movie. I do know that they have DVD sets out now where you can get both movies. Um, so, I think that this is an interesting franchise. It's an action franchise. You don't see very many. You see planes and even fighter jets and whatnot in other movies, but this one is really the only one I can think of where it's the main focus of the movies, like the fighter jets and the people who fly them. So my experience with this, I remember a long time ago. Of course, I seen Top Gun, the original Top Gun, when I was a kid, and of course it was a great movie. But then, of course, years go by, decades go by, before they finally make a sequel. And I was with some friends. I had the opportunity to watch the sequel, Top Gun Maverick, and I went ahead and watched it. I don't really like watching movies when I haven't seen the whole franchise, but of course, like I said, I had seen Top Gun before. I like to watch the order in which the movies come out in, so you have the proper context. But I'd seen Top Gun before. I just didn't remember that much about what the movie had to go, what the movie was. And they kept doing callbacks and making obvious references to the original in the sequel. And so it was like, oh man, they're making all these references to the sequel, but I can't remember very much about the original. It's been so long since I've seen it. Probably hadn't seen it since the 80s. And so I'm like, okay, it was a good movie. I enjoyed it. But I knew that there was a ton of references that just weren't making that much sense to me. So, it's a mission. They got to bring Tom Cruise back, even though he's old, because he's the only one who kind of has experience in this area, and so he's like the perfect guy to teach the younger pilots how to do this. But even though he's like super old, he's still really good. He's still a really good pilot. Is basically the storyline of the sequel. And in the original, of course, he's selected to be one of the few to go to the big school, the Top Gun school, which is, very prestigious. It's only the best of the best get to go to Top Gun. And, but, time has passed and he's so much older now. But yeah, it was one of those things where, good movie, good stuff. The first movie, you have a Top Gun pilot, you have the action, you have the adventure, the things that happen with the things. I'm not going to give away a lot of spoilers in this. Go back and watch the movies yourself. There's only two of them. It's not, a thing. But, you also have the love story, even in this edition here. How do you pronounce her name? Kelly McGillis gets billing right alongside Tom Cruise. The love story is a huge part of the movie. It's I think it has a good blend of love story and action movie together, and of course the human characters that you can bond with, which you need. I think you need that in almost every movie. There probably is exceptions to the rules, but in almost every movie you want to bond with the people in the movie. It can't just be all action or all love story or all this or all that. You have to have some place to bond and to experience the movie with the characters that you care about and get into. And yeah, this movie does that. So the first movie really good. But, them bringing Tom Cruise back one time in Top Gun Maverick and setting up the storyline, making it believable. I mean, obviously the sequel was not rushed, even though this was a very successful movie of Top Gun. They didn't rush the sequel. Maybe they tried earlier, but it never came until they finally, came out with the movie, decades later. One movie comes out in the 80s, another movie comes out in the 2020s, But I think that they had to, bring him in, get new characters involved. Apparently, since the end of this movie, they did not stay together as a couple, so in the sequel, it's kind of going back and trying to rekindle that romance, or they're hinting at a rekindling of the romance and saying, okay, maybe they're back together this time. But there is a pretty good romance in the first movie. The second movie, it's there, but I feel like it's not quite as strong. I don't understand the tendency sometimes to break characters up between movies only to try to have them get back together in the next movie. I complained about that with the Ghostbusters franchise, between Ghostbusters 1 and Ghostbusters 2, where, that happens, and that happens in this movie too. Why couldn't they just have been a married couple? Did they really need to go through the whole experience of having broke up between movies and then getting back together? Because at the end of the movie, even though the future is somewhat up in the air, at the end of the movie it does seem like they're probably going to pursue their relationship further, and they're very much in love with each other, obviously, only to open up the second movie and to have them like they haven't spoken to each other in 35 years or something, and then try to rekindle the romance all over again. I just don't get that. Why movie franchises do that? I think, do they think they have to copy the formula of the original to hook audiences back in again? And, well, it worked the first time, let's just do it all over again. But it doesn't make sense from a character progression standpoint. If they broke up or weren't together and haven't been together for 35, 40 years, however long it's been since the last movie, they don't need to get back together just because it's the sequel 40 years later. I mean, yeah. Either have the characters already together, or just don't have the characters together, have them be separate, but don't try to recreate the romance. Have them if you really want the romance so bad, just have them be together. Do they not know how to write a couple together? Can they only know how to write couples, going back and forth in the will they won't they? They don't actually know how to write a couple being together. I just don't get it. I don't get that part. But other than that, I think Top Gun Maverick was a pretty good movie. And like I said, I had to go back and rewatch the original again after watching it because I kind of was like, I don't really remember the original that much. It's just been too long. So I did go back and rewatch it. And both movies are really solid. The original and the sequel, 35 years later. But it's hard for me to pick which one I like better. I think they're both around equal. I might pick the original just because, like I said, I do think there is one flaw in that romantic relationship in the sequel, so probably going to have to go with the original. But I just don't want to see a third movie in this franchise because I just feel like it's going to be let down. They did a good job with the sequel. They made it somewhat believable enough that Tom Cruise is still flying planes at his age, and and that he's still good at it, and that they need to bring him back, and they connect all the connective tissues from the original to the sequel. I just don't feel like they did enough in the sequel, honestly, to establish the characters where they can kind of take the reins from Tom Cruise and continue the franchise on, which they need to do. They need to rely on someone other than Tom Cruise for the franchise, but they didn't. They failed to do that in the second movie. I mean, they had some good younger characters who are the new generation of fighter pilots in the second movie, but I don't think that they didn't establish those characters good enough to say, oh yeah, they're going to carry the franchise going forward. They're just going to have to go back to the well of depending on Tom Cruise to carry the franchise, and it's going to be diminishing returns every time. So that is my thoughts on the Top Gun franchise as it stands so far. Tell me, did you like the sequel? Do you want to see a third movie? Give me your opinion in the comment section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. All that jazz. Alright. God bless everybody. Dragonfire out.